Welcome to our Daily Bread. I'm making one of my most complicated recipes ever, I think, on the show. I'll be telling you about this. It's called chicken Parisian. In fact, we're going to make three dishes. Chicken Parisian, a tomato and zucchini gratin, and we're going to make some easy pies for dessert. Now, why am I making a complicated recipe? You know, I usually make simple recipes, and the amount of ingredients that I am using is much larger than what you'd probably use at home, because I'm going to be cooking for 24. We're going to be serving this food, sending this food to some guys involved in a particular ministry, and that ministry grew out of a real tragedy, several tragedies as a matter of fact, and yet out of the tragedy and out of the death came new life, new ministry, and I think it's going to be a very interesting story if you don't know it already. Pretty much everyone in Buffalo, New York. Oh, by the way, this chicken, you'd probably get one whole chicken if you're doing this for one, a family, a small family, or 4 or 5, 6 people. A chicken, and I boil it, and I made stock in the big pot in the back. I used carrots, onions, I used celery, and I boiled it, and I cooked the chicken there. So basically, we're going to use that chicken stock, we're going to use this chicken, and we're going to make a casserole, actually. But as I was saying, there are some very sad events took place in the history of the Diocese of Buffalo. Actually, you probably have to go back, a fairly long way to, it was 1987. In fact, I remember it. I was a seminarian at Christ the King Seminary, and it was actually Tuesday, the night before Ash Wednesday. And a priest didn't show up at a party he was going to go to with other priests. Shrove Tuesday, Mardi Gras. And it was Father Joe Bissonette. He didn't show up because at his rectory he had let in some guys, some younger fellows who were hungry and poor. And in charity, he opened up the rectory. And what happened was they unfortunately tied him, they beat him, and they also stabbed him to death. It was a shock, of course, through the whole Diocese of Buffalo, and not only here, but in many parts of the country, the murder of a priest trying to help some folks out. Well, 2 weeks later, another priest was murdered, Monsignor Herlihy, an elderly retired priest in a different rectory. It turned out the same men were convicted for that crime as well. So out of this came a real sadness, obviously, and out of this also came a ministry, and the ministry was really the impetus, the person who was really the force behind the ministry for ex-offenders, for those who had been in jail, served their time, paid their so-called debts to society, and now were looking for an opportunity, a chance to live life again and to try to make something of themselves in the outside world. And the religious sister who was the impetus behind this new project was Sister Karen Klimczak. Sister Karen herself was a sister of St. Joseph. Now, when her friend Father Joseph Bissonette died, and eventually the rectory became known as Bissonette House to help ex-offenders transition back into the community. And Sister Karen, she had this idea to have doves and to speak about peace. The saying is, nonviolence begins with me. So Sister Karen had this idea, but she was waiting for the right time to launch that idea. By the way, I'm putting some flour and butter into this heavy pot on low to medium heat, and I'm going to be stirring this for a while. And we're going to make a kind of a roux. It'll be like a bechamel sauce almost, okay? But anyway, Sister Karen, in this movement to say that nonviolence begins with me, she lived that out, and she was with the ex-offenders at Bissonette House. Very sadly, 10 years ago, on Good Friday of 2006, 10 years ago, Sister Karen was murdered by one of the residents of Bissonette House. Her body was not found until Easter Sunday, and it was found in a shallow grave. It was a very sad, dramatic, crushing, just an awful, awful time in our Diocese of Buffalo because she had meant so much to so many people. When her funeral services took place at St. Anne's on Broadway, which is an iconic church in the city of Buffalo, longtime church, there were over 1,500 people in attendance. And it was at that time, at her funeral, that was launched this whole Peaceprints initiative. Peaceprints. I leave Peaceprints. Not footprints, right? Peaceprints. And so with that, Sister Karen's life with us continues in one way, just as we believe it continues in eternity with God. So in brief, that's kind of a little bit of the story of Sister Karen. But we're going to talk about it more in the next segment of our show when we meet the director of Peaceprints, and that's Cindy MCEachon. And I'm looking forward to that. Okay, I've got my flour and butter here. And now I'm going to put, this is the way nobody else does chicken stock this way. They all strain it and do all this stuff and skim off the fat. I'm putting everything right in here. And I'm just going to strain it through this little hand strainer as I do. And you see the little peppercorns. We put peppercorns in there and cloves and all kinds of good stuff. I got a couple of egg yolks that I'm going to put in here, and this will also be a thickener. We're going to put in some half and half or heavy cream. The original recipe is heavy cream, but half and half is much lighter, huh? No, not really. Okay, we're going well on this. Okay. I am going to put in a few squirts of hot sauce. You can use any kind you like. So it needs a little salt. This looks like a lot, I know, but it's really not. This is the first salt I put in it. There we got some peppercorns mixed in there. One more thing I'm going to add is some tomato sauce to our white sauce here. I have some egg noodles, which I put in a huge pan here. And there we go. And I buttered these egg noodles so they will not stick, God willing. And now we're going to start just assembling with a little bit of chicken. Not a little bit, quite a bit of chicken. We're going to make one layer here. Now I got a little bit of chives, and it's interesting the way these chives and the scallions, the green onions, add a lot of little extra flavor when this bakes off. Now we've got our sauce. I'm going to give a little sprinkle of salt over the whole thing, and then a little more pepper. There we go. Okay. And there we go. Our sauce looks really nice. Very light, kind of creamy tomato sauce. Let's get our big ladle. Now you want to use quite a bit of this sauce to keep, obviously, everything moist, but also it'll add to the flavor, and it does get kind of absorbed into the noodles especially and the chicken as you bake this. It's going to go in an oven. Remember, everything's fully cooked, except really the onions, and those will start to wilt in the oven. So you're going to put it in an oven, 350 degrees until it's cooked through, until the cheese that we're going to put on top melts. When you buy Parmesan cheese, make sure that on the package it doesn't have the word cellulose, because most grated Parmesan cheese contains the wood product cellulose. It's an anti-caking agent. It comes from trees. It's like it's a plant, but I wouldn't normally eat trees. So they put that in a lot of your commercial Parmesans that you buy at the store pre-grated. Unless it might be grated in-store, better to grate it yourself, and then it's all good. There we go. That's it. Chicken Parisian. It's going to go in the oven. We're going to be back on our Daily Bread with our special guest, so don't go away. Welcome back to our Daily Bread, and today we're making chicken Parisian, an old college recipe of mine for a large group of people. And we're also making zucchini and tomato gratin, basically just baked tomatoes with zucchini. And we're making some little tarts, some fruit tarts for dessert. And joining me now is Cindy MCEachon.
You did
MCEachon.
Get it
I got it right.
There you go.
Joining me is Cindy MCEachon. And Cindy is the executive director of Peaceprints of Western New York.
That is correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, Cindy, this is a big topic, but I really am very interested in this whole movement of Peaceprints that kind of was a springboard from the mind and the heart of Sister Karen.
Yes.
Did you know Sister Karen?
I did not know her personally.
And what have you learned about her particularly that maybe even drew you towards this position, which is executive director is more than a job? I would think it would be a ministry, too.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
Tell us about it.
So Sister Karen, in going back to your first question, what I've learned about her, she was quite the Spitfire. She was involved in so much. She truly felt a calling to a particular individual. And that calling has caused her to, or did cause her to, establish this ministry, this ministry to reach out to individuals that had been part of our criminal justice system. The timing was perfect because we were heavily incarcerating for nonviolent drug offenses. So much so that we had to build multiple new facilities throughout the nation to support these individuals and the housing of these individuals. Oh, excuse me. Go ahead. No, go ahead. She certainly was kind of a pillar of peace, and she promoted peace, but she pioneered reentry services before reentry was acknowledged.
You know, I didn't want to send a salad because it'll wilt and all that stuff.
Absolutely.
I thought we'd do a baked zucchini with tomato, and they call it a gratin. A lot of people think a gratin it has to have cheese on it, but we have enough cheese on other things. A gratin, it just means the way it's cooked in the oven. So I'm just brushing a little olive oil in the pan so our vegetables don't stick. And then we're going to kind of make layers of the zucchini and the tomato. So let's try that. You can grab some tomatoes and do that one over there. And I'll take some zucchini and just alternate.
You want one?
Like a zucchini, a tomato, a zucchini, a tomato.
So for bigger ones,
can
I do
yeah, you could do two, I guess, yeah. I'm not real fussy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You know, I'm going to go out on a limb and assume that the gentlemen aren't either.
Right, there you go.
But
so the food is going out today, and who is it going to go to?
it is going to the residents of the Bissonette house.
Okay, so it's still called Bissonette House.
It is
and it's
still
still
called
at St.
Bissonette.
Bartholomew's.
Yes, it is.
The old St. Bartholomew Rectory. And how's it going there?
It's never a dull moment, ever.
Now, do you direct that place too, as
Yes.
such? Okay.
Yeah. That facility, the Bissonette House, as you talked about earlier, has quite a unique history between Father Bissonette and Sister Karen.
Yes.
So we've learned a lot from our past,
Sure.
and it's helped to shape who we are today and the way we run our operation and what we do. But ultimately, we hold true to its essence, and that is forgiveness, second chances. Offering and affording individuals the ability to become productive members of society.
Yeah, sometimes we forget that, at least in the church, we forget that St. Paul himself was rounding up Christians to have them hauled into court and jailed before he went through his conversion. Sometimes I think maybe we don't, kind of even allow for the possibility of conversion with some folks, you know?
Right.
Now, the trick here is a fair amount of dried thyme. I don't want to overdo it. I put a little salt on the dried thyme. Now, because we've kind of layered these up to make them a little more sturdy here, you can do this in 1 or 2 layers, or we had enough tomatoes to do 3 layers, which is good. A little bit of pepper. Now, do you think the guys would like onion on theirs or not?
I mean, we can always do one with onion.
We'll do one with onion. Great. Okay. I think everybody knows the Dove.
Yes.
Everybody knows Peace, I leave Peaceprints, In fact, I remember once several years ago, I was in Philadelphia, and at the church there run by the Redemptorists, in the courtyard, there was one of these, the Peaceprints, the doves, with the words on it.
They've gone national.
Yeah, good.
And she started out with actually a Days of Peace dove that she put out in front of the Bissonette house. I don't know if you recall, in December of 2005, she unveiled this dove. And this was her first dove connecting to her outwardly. And she connected this dove and started counting the number of days between homicides in the city of Buffalo.
Oh, of course I remember that. Yes. Yeah.
So she started counting, and while that was happening,
there would be a prayer service at every site where there had been a homicide.
Absolutely. And a small dove would be given. And she was still working through this whole idea of Peaceprints, the dove, what would be, you know, the tagline that she used, like we have over here, the I Leave Peaceprints, which has become so well known.
Right.
She worked in combination with some high school students, some community volunteers, as well as inmates in Attica Correctional Facility to cut out 2,000 of these doves, and they were hand cut originally.
Oh, wow.
It's been 10 years, you know, since her passing, and it's also been 10 years since these doves have been unveiled to the community.
So what else is going on to commemorate 10 years of the Peaceprint doves?
We started with the rededication of the Days of Peace dove. We have our commemorative doves, like the ones behind us, which we're giving out for free to anybody who contacts us and wants one. They just have to contact the organization, and we are making sure that people are connecting her name again with the dove. It has been a decade, and we don't want her legacy to ever be forgotten. It taught us so much. On top of that, we have agreed to put and promote at least one peace-filled event in honor of Sister Karen per month through the rest of this calendar year. So we're collaborating with other organizations, and there's going to be a play coming up that talks about Sister Karen's life. We are also going to be having a musical concert. We're going to do a community birthday party. And so we've got a lot of different things.
That's a lot of things going on.
Yeah,
That's wonderful,
absolutely.
wonderful.
To make sure that our community truly remembers who she is. You know, you have a younger population that did not know Sister Karen,
Yes.
and those are now, you know, our leaders. They're moving up, they're getting older, and we want to make sure that they also know her story and that it doesn't continue and eventually be forgotten.
Thanks so much, Cindy. This has been very, very enlightening and just a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to learn more about this ministry, about Sister Karen, and remembering her on this 10th anniversary of her passing. Yes. And we've also made food. So,
absolutely.
Tomatoes, zucchini, thyme, salt, pepper, little olive oil in the bottom. I'm going to put these in the oven covered with aluminum foil at about 300 degrees for about 15 or 20 minutes, then uncover them for another 15 minutes or so. They'll be nice and tender, they'll steam, and then they'll get a nice little crust on them. We'll be back with more of our Daily Bread right after this. Don't go away. Today we made chicken Parisian. We made a gratiné of zucchini and tomatoes, and one adding onions and thyme. And then finally we're going to make some fruit tarts now on our Daily Bread. Joining me in the kitchen now is Barry Jones. And Barry, you live at, where do you live, at Bissonette House?
No, yes sir, that's correct.
Now, what's the situation there for you? How do you like living at Bissonette House?
It's a change of pace. You know, it's get you back, once you leave, get you back to the real world, re-entry into society. You know, it's based on, you got responsibilities, you got your living quarters, you got a routine what you do every day. Get you back to adjustment, back to the real world.
You are a native of Buffalo?
Yes, sir.
You grew up on the east side?
Yes, sir.
On Peckham Street, huh?
Peckham Street.
Okay,
Peckham.
good. What's your school background like? Where'd you go to school?
School 31.
Okay.
Then I went to Bennett High School. Then from there, you know, not really much schooling, but you know,
Yeah.
I went, you know.
You got in some trouble then at some point, or what happened?
Years later, I got in trouble.
Years later, of course. Yeah.
Years, of course. Yes,
Yeah.
you know, I worked various different jobs, nursing homes. I worked all over the city of Buffalo.
And how long were you incarcerated before how long have were you in prison?
Oh, off and on, I said about 20-something years off and on.
Wow.
I'm currently on life parole, you know.
You're on life parole?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
So now, how long have you been at Bissonette House?
A month.
A month. And now you got like, what, a few months, what is it, 12?
I got about 3 more months, approximately 3 more months.
And what's your goal in this time now for the next 3 months? What do you want to accomplish? What do you want to do?
Financial stability, so I can get my own apartment.
What's the day like at Bissonette House?
Okay, like some guys, they work. Some guys have different routines where they go to programs. Like me, I go to programs there all day. I go to my program. After that, I go back to the house, do my little chore, because everybody have a chore they have to set. You know, then, you know, visit my family. You know, we got a set routine, different stuff we do. Everybody's day is always different. You know, nobody have the same routine. It's always different, you know. Then I volunteer with Sister Smith Cindy. I volunteer her a lot. You know, we went to UB last Friday. A couple of weeks ago, we went to Canisius College. We kind of like partners now. We speak. We go out to speaking engagements.
How do you like that?
It's something different. I was at the first time I was like real nervous, but it's a change of pace. It's good, you know.
Yeah.
It's volunteer. It's good, you know. Then I get something out of it.
Barry, if you would break 3 eggs into there, what I decided we would do for our dessert would be something simple that could also be taken to the house. And so I'm making some tarts. They're real easy to do. All I did was I got some of the frozen dough pans, okay? So I'm not good at making pastry or dough myself. So we got those, and you bake them, you stick them with a fork in the bottom so they don't blow up. You put them in the oven according to the directions on the package. And then we're all set to put our fruit in. And one is going to be raspberry blueberry, and the other one is going to be cherry. Barry, how did you first come to know about the Peaceprints services?
I knew Sister Karen, God bless her soul. I knew Sister Karen I met her back in, I want to say 04.
You knew Sister Karen, huh? And what was she like? What's your impression of her?
She was a tough cookie, but she was a good lady. She'd help anybody she could. Homeless people just come by there and ask for food. She'd give them food, bus fare or what have you, clothes. If she had it, she'd help anybody. You know, but she didn't take no nonsense. You know, it was her way or no way, or find somewhere else to go.
Right.
Then every day we had to cook there, like 7 days a week. Each person that lived there would have a day to cook, and 5 o'clock was mandatory dinner.
I see.
Then after 5 o'clock dinner, after all the chores done, we go back out and, you know, your curfew at 9 o'clock, you resume back to the place at 9 o'clock.
Is it still kind of like that or what?
No, it's not like that now. No.
What's it like now? What's the difference now?
The difference is we had to all come back. You know, some people got curfew from 8 o'clock, some people from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. we had to come back. But, you know, the staff cooks. We still have to do our chores, sign in and sign out. You know, you still got to follow the rules.
Right, sure.
Or else you'll be somewhere you don't want to be, which,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Is that the hardest thing, kind of readjusting to the way life is outside? Or
I wouldn't say that's the hardest thing. The hardest thing would be when you're going for like 2 or 3 years. See, people have various sentences. When you're going 2 or 3 years, it's adjusting back to society. Because I mean, when I first came home from prison, I see the first police car scene. I was like, wow. You know, you get that funny feeling, like, you know, because, you know, one little mistake will send you back to a place you don't want to go, which is, for me, prison.
Sure, yeah. Let me, I'm going to put a little, what do we call this? A little bit of nutmeg in here, because that'll add a nice little flavor. I like a fair amount of nutmeg. You can keep beating that if you want. And let's see, I'm going to put a little bit of cinnamon in. I like cinnamon. This will give a nice flavor. Go right ahead. And let's see, a little bit of vanilla. Oop, that was maybe a little more than I wanted, but that's okay. The fruit that we're using today, I'm using these cherries in a jar. They're not cherry pie filling. They're cherries that you can drain. They're in a very light syrup, and these are dark cherries. So I'm going to use those. They're not very sweet. I'm going to put, that's about a half a cup of sugar in there. You can mix that right up. And I'm actually going to put a little confectioner's powdered sugar on the top to sweeten it up a little bit more. I don't want it real sweet, but this won't be, believe me. So let's see. I think we got all that. Now we got a little half and half in here. If you beat that up really good, we'll be all set. Great. You can use heavy cream, of course, if you want. Now, the cherries and the fruit go in. Let's see. You don't want to use frozen because it'll make the tart really watery, so we'll do this. Okay. I'm going to mix the blueberries with some raspberries, and these are going to be good. And now, I'm making 4 of these because you got 24 guys in the house?
Yes, sir, that's
all
correct.
men. I'm putting a little bit of lemon zest on the top here. Now, that'll cook in. But it'll give a nice little freshness to the tarts. A little bit of lemon zest. I'm going to put a little juice. I'm going to squeeze. This is a Meyer lemon, which are very good. They're like almost a cross between an orange and a lemon. And I'm very lucky that I have my friends, the Gormans in California, who send them to me. Big packages of them every few weeks. They grow them in their own backyard. Let me get that seed out. I don't want a seed in there. Okay, this looks great. All right. Now we're just going to take this mixture, 3 eggs, a little bit of half and half, and this is going to go over the top here. We had cinnamon, nutmeg, a little lemon zest, vanilla, a little sugar, Just want to cover it to where they're sticking out the top there. That's good. Now these are going to go in the oven now. Remember, I pre-baked the shells, the pie shells. These are going to go in the oven about 300 degrees until the eggs set. And when you get the eggs, a little custardy mixture, it's not really custard, but it's close. When you get those eggs to set, then you're all set. And then we'll have our complete dinner to send to Bissonette House. Do you think the guys will like this?
You'll love it.
They will? Good. Okay. That's what I want to hear. All right.
They'll love it. Believe me,
All
they'll
right.
love it.
Barry, what's the one thing you remember or would you tell people most about Sister Karen, now 10 years after she's gone from this earth?
She would help anybody she could. She was a good woman, kind woman. She was fair. She didn't look at you as black, white, Spanish. She was fair, kind-hearted. Little lady, little spicy lady. She had a lot of pull with parole. Like, I used to go to parole, I go to parole, they said, don't even come in. Sister Karen called, you good. See you in 2 weeks, see you next week. She had a lot of pull. She was a good lady, a lot of respect.
Wow.
The community respected her, everybody cared about her. She was a little lady, but she was a little powerful, spiritual woman.
Yeah, very
God
good.
bless her soul.
God bless her soul. That's a great way to conclude our program on our Daily Bread today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us. Very interesting program, but it's also a reminder too, perhaps to you, that we're in the Jubilee Year of Mercy. And in this Jubilee Year of Mercy, it's a great time to try to reach out even to some people who are really in difficult situations. There's ministries all over the place, not only here, Peaceprints of Western New York, but wherever you're watching and wherever you live and wherever you go, there are people who need mercy, compassion, and the open arms of Christ, which are opened through our activity. Until next time, I'm Father Paul Seil. God bless you all, and have a peaceful day. All set? Thank you, too, Barry. Thank you a lot. Thanks a lot. Okay.
Nice meeting you. Take care now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.